disclosure. Sober disclosure. Breezy's a slut.
And we like it in the butt.
Are you or someone you know looking for support in recovery? Taste Recovery is your go-to directory for sober resources. Whether you're searching for treatment centers or sober living communities, Taste Recovery connects you with the right tools and support to help you on your journey. With a user-friendly platform and a comprehensive list of resources, Taste Recovery makes finding the help you need easier than ever. Start building your path to a healthier, sober life today. Visit tasterecovery.com to find the resources that work for you. Taste Recovery, your first step to a lasting positive change. Hi, everyone. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Jimmy.
And we are
Sober
Disclosure.
We have here Satch, a strict top from Irvine with a size 14 shoe. From Treetop.
Treetop, Texas.
Treetop. He's a Treetop Texan.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
That you've never had a little fucking entryway to a podcast like that before, I bet.
That's why he asked that question
Yes.
when I sat down. Are you a top or a bottom? I was like, oh, fuck.
You don't know my tactics? Leave me alone.
Everybody coming on, watch out when that first
And then,
question
but
comes.
wait, when he said it, he goes, I'm a strict top. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I got him.
You
He
got
wasn't
him
like,
for the
oh, I'm a
bottom.
top. He goes, I'm a strict top.
Yeah, only
I'm a strict top from Texas.
from Texas, y'all. Only topping.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how much time sober do you have?
I took 10 years on March 6th.
Shut the fuck up.
Crazy.
That's
Wow.
good.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Insane.
We out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be taking 10 Breezy Willing in November. It's insane.
Let's go.
Is
Breezy
this-
Willing.
Breezy
I
Willing.
love it.
Is this your first time getting sober?
No, it is not. It is. I mean, I feel like it's hard to count, but
Do
I
you
went
have
to like,
more lip filler syringes in your lips?
Which is 25.
But do you have more?
Have you been sober more than 25 times?
Yeah, have you gotten sober more than that?
27.
No fucking
Oh my god, you need
way.
2 more lip syringes to pass.
I know.
Because we're not relapsing. You're literally staying sober.
We're not.
Yeah.
You know, so I, yeah, so I went to treatment 27
You have
times before I got
more
sober.
treatment. Why
In
can't
you.
I speak it? Yeah.
More treatment inside you.
Then you have lip filler.
That's the one time you're allowed to say
27. Wow. Okay, so what age did you start going to treatment?
that. 18.
What was the first one?
It was called Texas Star. It was like a
Oh,
little
that's why it
detox.
didn't work.
Lone
Yeah.
Star.
I mean, it was called Texas Star. It was this little detox in South Austin, and I went there and I learned how to do a lot more shit.
Yeah.
And what
Was
came
it the
from
Benny
that-
Ranch?
It was. I mean, let's call it that. I mean, there were some men there. You know what I mean? There were some choices.
What's a bunny ranch?
That prostitution house outside of Vegas.
Huh? I don't even know. I don't know. I learned so much sitting here.
I mean,
I'm just here.
I mean, I do too.
Yeah.
He said, "Is that a bunny ranch?" I was like, "What does he mean? Just say something."
But actually, what you just said went with the whole thing.
Exactly. See, because I knew it was something to do with
Prostitution.
Not even prostitution. I just knew it was something sexual.
Sexual, yeah, absolutely. Always.
Always.
20 times out
I
of 10.
love it here. Y'all need a
Yeah.
third? Like, it's just the three of us in a chair.
Oh my god, we
around.
were just talking about threes.
Threesomes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, my favorite.
We'll
Let's
end
do
it
this
there.
shit.
We'll
Okay.
end it there.
All right, let's go. Let's do that. I say my favorite as like I've never done that. Dead ass. Never.
I've never had a threesome.
Really?
Never.
I can't pay attention like that.
It's
No.
always awkward, and I'm never the person with the partner that does it, but I was always the third, and always one of the partners wants you more than the other, and it's awkward all the time.
Yeah, see, I can't pay attention to people like that. Like, I can barely focus on one person that I'm with. You know what I mean? You add another person into the mix that I'm supposed to take care of as
Yeah.
well.
It's like doing this, patting your stomach and going like this to your head
Yeah.
One of y'all
at
gonna
the
be
same time.
disappointed. Someone always leaves mad. It's never me.
Yeah.
Because you want to know why?
Someone always
You're
uses
selfish.
Because I'm a strict top.
it.
All right. All Oh my God, I'm so
Okay,
so inappropriate.
so no, please. That's literally what this podcast is.
This is raw.
Yeah.
Unfiltered.
Raw, unprotected.
Unprotected, unfiltered. This is not the church meeting on Sunday.
There's a reason I stopped going to those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She burned.
I walked in and all my clothes came off.
That's why we keep it really hot in here. We're just like, why are you so naked?
Everyone always says Jesus is black.
I got
Madonna's video.
Yeah.
I've got a tank top on under this.
Get it. Give it to us, please.
I want the tank top.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. Everyone wants to see it.
Everyone wants the tank top.
Okay.
all right.
Back to the
Okay.
first year of
It's getting-
recovery.
So we're at Lone Star.
Texas Star.
Texas
Star. Yeah.
Okay, we're at Texas Star, and you were
Sounds
an
like a drag
18-year-old
queen.
boy. Did you already know you were gay by that point?
Oh,
You had already come out?
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I came out to my mom in an HEB parking lot, and I was like, "Mom, I'm gay," and she
Mhm.
like looks over at me and she goes, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "So you think that means you don't have to help with the groceries? Get out of the car, you
Oh,
know?"
I love that
and so
answer.
I felt the support from her instantly.
Yeah.
The rest of the family was a different story, you know. Just, you're a man, you're a black man. Like, how are you going to carry on the family legacy? And it's just like, by being fucking fabulous.
Amen. Do you
Like-
feel like that contributed to your addiction?
No. My addiction was brought on by feelings of inadequacy and not being enough. I don't think my sexuality really had much to do with it. It was just like the cherry on top, so to
Mhm.
speak. My addiction was never one of circumstance. I had everything I ever needed as a child. Had a great family life. Was raised very well off. Had never wanted for anything ever.
Mhm.
But it wasn't always like that. My biological mother was addicted to heroin, and
You're
I was adopted
adopted.
by my biological aunt.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then my brother was adopted by my biological uncle, and so we were both adopted into the family, so we could still be a part of our family.
Wow.
And then my biological mother got her life together, got her master's, gave birth to my youngest brother, raised him through college, and now he's playing college basketball for a university in Miami.
Oh my God. Okay, so when you were talking about your mom, your biological mom is your mom, or is your aunt your mom?
My aunt is my mom. That
Okay.
is who I refer to whenever I say mom. That is exactly who I mean.
Mhm. She's the one that raised you.
She's the one who raised me.
Yeah.
She taught me values, morals, and to just be good to people.
Mhm.
And I feel
And
like
to
that's
help
like,
with the groceries.
you know, honestly, I really didn't do that much. If we're being honest, I was like, on the phone. Oh my God, I just told her. Like
Yeah.
my friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like putting it all in the trunk, and then she looks at me and she goes, and I was like, oh, here, I'll get this jug of water.
Yeah. Dramatic.
but yeah, I've been blessed beyond measure. The person who made it hard for me was me.
Mm.
I've been my own worst critic for the longest time, especially when I was in a bigger body. I felt even less deserving of the accolades that I got, right? And I took a lot away from myself just because I could not get past my own shortcomings, which were nothing more than like figments of my imagination,
Mhm. Mhm.
So.
Wow. Okay. So in those 27 stints of treatment, did you ever get like a substantial sobriety, or were you just a chronic relapser
In
until
and out,
this time?
in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Mom wanted to save me more than I wanted to save myself, and it was just treatment center after treatment center after treatment center. And then I was never like an AMAer. I was never the guy who like left treatment. I was always the star of the show. I always
You thrived in treatment.
I thrived.
I
in
can see
treatment.
that.
I made
I can
friends.
totally see that.
I made friends.
Yeah.
Everybody loved me. I was leading groups, walking around, reading the big book in front of the group like I'm leading a fucking church service. You know, I was very much that guy in rehab. And then the minute that I get away from that controlled environment, it was like I had a needle in my arm very, very soon after. There was one time where I went to an all-gay men's sober living house. Oh, God. In Texas, called the Amesbury House, which was part of Eudaimonia Recovery Homes. Delta Nu, you know. God, I'm kidding. Not kidding about any of that though. But that was where I probably got like 90 days sober there, and then my mom was like, "Oh my God, he's a new man," you know, because there's no, you know, there's not a lot of sobriety in my family. My mom, you know, I was like kicking dope on the couch one time, and she comes up to me and she goes, "I've been where you've been." I was like, "What?" She's like, a Harvard law grad, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, great. She's like, I smoked a marijuana cigarette once, and I was just like, Ma,
yeah, definitely not.
Get away,
yeah,
you know. But it's not her responsibility to understand that. She should not have to, right? Like, who am I to like say you need to know what my pain feels like, right? Yeah. So I didn't expect her to understand it, but I didn't get my first real stint of long-term sobriety until this, and now it's been a pretty long time. So
holy shit,
it's fucking crazy.
That's so cool, because I feel like a lot of the guests that we've had on this podcast, they've had other first years to compare it to, because I think I shared with you, like, we try to focus on that first year as much as possible, and so it is interesting when people compare and contrast when they have had multiple, you know, first years of sobriety. But I think it's even more interesting in the fact that you've had all of these stints of smaller amounts of sobriety, so that when you did get in this time, what were the things that you like already just knew that you needed to do differently? Or like, what was it? What was the aha moment? Yeah, what was different? How did you end up staying after that many times, especially to that chronic relapser that's listening, you know?
You know, my last relapse story was one of nightmares. I never want to feel that way again. I was left overdosing in a hotel room by somebody who I loved very deeply. And I got up, filled a rig with enough heroin to kill me. I stood up in the mirror of this motel in San Angelo, Texas, and I shot up looking at myself because I knew I was going to die. And I woke up in the morning, and I had the rig in my arm still. And I looked around at where I was, this desolate, dank, dark, dingy motel with half of my stuff being stolen because the people I hung out with were not good people. A rig in my arm, and my cell phone scattered across the floor next to the tub, like catty cornered with the wall in the tub. And I just remember like sitting up and being the sickest I'd ever felt. Usually it took like, after using a decent amount, it took me at least until like halfway through the day to start feeling withdrawal and knowing that I needed to get more. And I woke up just viscerally ill, just like if I move, I'm going to throw up, like that type thing. And I saw my phone, and I like, it was the most dramatic thing, like some girl interrupted shit. I'm like, you know, like reaching for the phone across the room, and I grab it, and like my mom had agreed to pay for a week of this motel.
You're like, I'm gonna stab my neck with a pen.
Yeah. And I remember
your mom had agreed to pay for the motel that you were in,
that I was in currently.
Okay.
And she said, do not talk to me until you have a year sober from this point. And I hadn't spoken with her since. And it had been a few days. And I grabbed my phone and I looked at it, and all it was a message from her, and it was a picture of my insurance card.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
And I just remember messaging her and saying, you know, everybody had left me. Everybody had left me except for the one person that had always been there, and had finally established a boundary. And I sent her a text and I said, I'm ready. And she said, keep your phone by you. And then I got a phone call from American Addiction Centers, like within 30 minutes. They had me on a flight that evening. And that's when all this started. And then she didn't talk to me for a while. You know, She let me have my experience. What I knew what was different was I knew I was done. I could not explain it. I was an awful client at American Addiction Centers. I was fucking a spoiled little rich kid. Not little. I was still this tall, but like I was spoiled as fuck. I was like, I had a gnarly eating disorder. And they didn't really have the wherewithal to treat that back then. So what they did was they would have a tech sit with me, and for 40 minutes after every meal, and like not let me go to the bathroom. Like that was how they treated an eating disorder back in 2015. And so what I just knew that something had to change because I could not go on feeling the way that I felt when I woke up that morning. And I knew that this is a progressive illness, and I'd been shown that because each relapse got worse quicker, and I would try to stretch it as far as I could. And there was a moment in San Angelo when I was like sitting in this room with this dude I'd met on Grindr, and I was like, what in the fuck am I doing here? This dude is mid as fuck. And he's been up for days. He keeps looking at me like, and I was just like I'm gonna die tonight. And but then he pulled out some meth, and I was like, babe,
we're good.
Hey, babe,
like,
just the complete demoralization of my morals. And looking at me in that hotel room, you would never know that my mom's a Harvard law grad, and I have all these. My life looks like this, and back home, And so I just knew that a change was necessary. I knew that I needed to do whatever was asked of me by people who had more experience doing the right things, because all I knew how to do was destroy relationships. And I was really good at that, but I wanted to be really good at something different.
So did you have a sponsor, or did you get a new sponsor this time? Or every time you were in there, did you have multiple sponsors?
I was going to say, was this in California? They flew you out to California?
So they flew me to Vegas. So I went to Desert Hope in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I was there for 28 days, something like that. And then I left. This was the second time I'd been there. So first time I'd been there, I was there in December. Then I left with the guy who I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then we moved to San Angelo. Then I went back in March. Okay. So 3 months later, I was probably sober for 4 days when I got there, in December. I had a sponsor. I got a sponsor when I moved from Vegas to Huntington for outpatient programming. The first sponsor I had in Texas, I got him because he was so hot. And I was like, oh my God, dude, he's fantastic. Just look at him, But then he ended up teaching me a lot, you know what I mean? Because I'm sitting there just and I ended up listening, and I've had conversations with him since, obviously, and I'm like, thank you for showing me what things needed to be like at that time. Obviously I wasn't ready to stay sober, but I remember our conversations vividly. My sponsor, I've had 3 sponsors out here. 4. Fuck. One.
She's a jumper.
10 years? No, that's pretty good.
So one, took me through the steps, taught me a firm understanding of it. He was a lot younger than I was. I lived with him for a while. Big mistake in terms of that. Big mistake in terms of that. And our friendship actually, that ended up being the reason that our friendship didn't last, is because there was just too much going on there. Second sponsor I got because of his name in the community. And it ended up not being a great fit after a while. There was just some stuff that just didn't sit well with me. And then I moved to his best friend to have him sponsor me, which was like me just being a step slut, And he moved to Vegas. And then I got my sponsor that I've had now for 7 years. And he actually fired me from management at Treehouse. I hated that man. And then things got really weird around 3 years. And I was like, hey, I need help. Or else I will get high again. And it's been 7 years of the strongest sobriety that I've had, coming from the most unlikely source. Yeah. So
always. I love that you chose the person that had already shown you that he was able to withhold a boundary with you and be like, no.
Yeah. He's the first person to say, your sponsor's not your friend. your sponsor can have the difficult conversations with you, and he has had some very difficult conversations with me.
Mm.
But that first year, he wasn't my sponsor, so I was learning
but he
a
was
lot
still in your life.
But he was still in my life. I
Okay.
saw him every day. He was the housing manager or the housing director for the sober living that I was managing.
Yeah.
You know, so I saw
Sorry. Wow.
No, it's okay. I'm over here just like
Yeah,
trying not to.
There's so many
react
gnats
to
in here all of a sudden.
You got some raw bananas in here, girl?
Yeah.
You got some bad bananas in here or something? Where's
Probably.
Where's the kitchen?
Raw bananas.
Somebody. Somebody. Damn.
Damn. Okay, so let's bring it back to that first year. So you were in Vegas. You finished 28 days of treatment. Did the treatment center tell you to go to sober living, or was that
So
something
they
you
were
wanted
like,
to do?
we're a firm advocate of continued treatment. You know, the success rates in longevity of treatment skyrocket if you stay somewhere longer than 30 days.
Yep.
It triples if you stay for 90. So
Yep.
I was like, okay, you know, you're gonna have to talk to my mom. Like, I don't know, she spent a lot of money on me. They'd already spoken to her. She had already agreed to everything, and that's what full consent gets you. And so they picked a program for me called Turning Pages in Huntington Beach. And I went there, and a buddy of mine came out there with me. About a week after I got there, he moved in. And also this guy that I'd been sleeping with when I was in treatment prior was now the program director over there. So it was just a fucking...
Whoa, small world.
It was crazy. So I went there. Let's see, probably about a month in, I found my friend who had come down there with me. I found him dead in the bathroom. And after that, I saw the entire infrastructure of that program crumble. That program is no longer open. It rocked everybody to their grave, to like their core, to their grave. God, that was almost dark.
Almost.
Literally, the owner, right after he died, relapsed and started smoking crack and using all the, you know, it was pretty crazy. And so I ended up going to another program, which was right down the street from Treehouse. And I get there to this outpatient program.
How much time do you have?
Probably 65 days.
65 days.
Yeah. And so I remember at that time showing up, getting ready to do my intake, and one of the owners comes up and goes, "Hey man, so we got a bed for you ready at our sober living, but the guy living in it, I can't make this up. The guy living in it died last night, so we need to clean the room." And I said, "I'm not staying in that fucking house." I was like, "I'm not staying in that house. I'm not staying at this program.
Oh my God.
Like either you get me to another housing, like either get me to a different housing where I'm not in a room where somebody has just passed away, or I will not come to this program." And they were like, "Well, there's this place called Treehouse. We could cover your rent while you're there." And I was like, "Okay, let's try it out." And then that's when I got introduced to the drug and alcohol free housing component that absolutely dialed in my sobriety for the first year, 100%.
I want to go back to finding your friend dead in the bathroom at 65 days sober. I left treatment at 90 days sober, and within 2 weeks of leaving treatment, I already knew 3 people that I had loved and went to treatment with die.
Mm-hmm.
And also while I was in treatment, this girl, I spent the last 5 minutes of her life with her, and she went back to the cabin and hung herself. And I feel like I wasn't a chronic relapser, but I feel like those types of moments really define your sobriety, in the sense of all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute, when they're saying this is life or death, this literally is life or death. And it really made me start looking at myself and my choices, and I just took everything so much more serious. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that was your reason as to why this one stuck? The fact that it happened so early on in your sobriety, had you found somebody dead before? Had you gone through that already?
I had seen dead people. Yeah. That wasn't new to me, which is a horrible thing to think about, because I was 26 or 25 when I got sober. Yeah. Right. So, I'd been seeing people dead for years. And so it wasn't necessarily that. It was more so that I'd seen so much promise and I just really enjoyed him around because he distracted me from everything that I struggled with. And in my mind, I was like, fuck, if he's gone, what the hell is going to keep me? Right. And so it was selfish, obviously, like it was selfishly minded. But the first year of sobriety, in my opinion, needs to be selfish.
Yeah.
It turns selfless once you're on that 12th step.
Yeah.
And it scared me.
Yeah.
It scared me because he was doing so well. And then out of nowhere, the next day he's dead.
Right.
You know,
Right.
He had used once and that was it. And I just remember being like, okay, how are the people in my community right now going to handle this? And it was the worst reaction I've ever seen. People who are supposed to be professional, like coming unglued. They ended up kicking me out of that program because I was advocating for us to have some sort of therapy around what we'd all just witnessed at our house.
Oh my God.
And they asked me to leave. And so me not really knowing what I know now in terms of how getting into a treatment center works, I'm sitting there like on my phone Googling rehabs, outpatient programs, not knowing like what to look for, what the right choice is, right? And I shudder to think like if I hadn't, because like the program that I went to was cool. It was very Eastern philosophy, like, or was it Western? Which one is the Asian?
Buddhist?
Eastern.
Western.
Western. So, very love who you want to love. If you want to date each other in treatment, do it. Like very much that.
Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, but like didn't do anything like that. But it was a cool experience doing yoga and Tai Chi and stuff all day. But like what saved my life and made me into the man that I am today is the Treehouse drug and alcohol free housing component that I was blessed to be able to go to
After that.
because of that room situation. Because unfortunately, it sucks to say, but nobody from that program is sober anymore or alive that went when I went.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Yeah.
And that's like super cool to say, you know, but it took a lot of work, but it was all because of the people that I surrounded myself with when I wasn't in treatment. That meant everything. Yeah. You know? Wow. Is this too close to my face? I feel like I'm
No, it's perfect.
No, you sound great. So what was it about Treehouse that...
Structure. So I came from having people take care of everything for me. I learned how to make my bed at Treehouse. I learned how to do my laundry at Treehouse. As a 25-year-old man, I learned how to do these things that people have been doing their entire life.
Right.
You know, and they're like, oh, wow, how rich was he? How spoiled was he?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know, I had no rebuttal for it. I remember there was a time where the two housing directors came up to me and they were like, hey, man, so we've been getting we got to talk to you about your laundry. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, thank God. I've left it there and no one's picked it up yet. You know what I mean? And then one of the housing directors looks at the other and he goes, are you fucking kidding me, dude? And he goes, no, I think he's serious, bro. And then like that really solidified our bond because they were like, dude, we gotta show you some shit. And they were like, your chore is bathroom 1. I said, what is that? I said, what does that mean? They said, that means every morning you go in and you scrub the toilet, you clean the bathroom, you wipe it down. I said, I ain't fucking touching that. Yeah. Y'all got me fucked up. I'm not about to be what? Yeah. Negative. They said, well, then you can move. And I was like, okay, bathroom 1, you said, you know. Yeah. So it was about structure. It was about developing a design for living. And we had 2 required mandatory meetings on site at the house every week. And you got to see people grow. And you also got to see a lot of people who had been there for a while. Like there was a guy there named Old Man Mike who'd been there for a long time, had COPD and smoked a pack of Pall Mall Blues every day. And he'd ask me, Satch, what's your number one? Well, Satch, what's your number one priority today? And if it was anything other than stay sober, my answer was incorrect. And so it kind of, by talking to him every morning, it reframed that thought for me. And I knew I was done. even though I was a shithead, I knew that I didn't want to get high again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you think that coming from where you come from and you went to the other programs kind of did you wasn't good for you because everything was done for you, and when you came to this program you kind of had to learn how to really have a routine, so then when you leave the program you're not just stuck on your own devices.
Mm-hmm.
So then you kind of had a design for living in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, well, I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and say that it was bad for me. I'm grateful to have been raised the way that I was. Not many people can say that, and I'm super blessed that I was able to experience life like that.
I'm talking about the rehabs you went to.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
going to those rehabs sometimes can do when you do need the structure of, what they
Because
said,
they're bougie.
yeah, we need to teach you how to do your laundry, or you can get the fuck out.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Did that that was totally different from the rehabs you went to?
Yeah,
that helped you 80%
with everything,
a lot more.
But the thing about it is that it wasn't necessarily the rehab; it was just the housing aspect, because it wasn't attached to my rehab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's the people at that place.
People at that place that made the difference for me.
Yeah.
It was the community that was created. I remember the first night I was there, they had their discussion meeting and it was raining outside. And so it's a fire pit meeting. And so instead of it being outside, they put 70 chairs in the living room of the main house. And I was like, what the fuck? And then the men started coming in from that Treehouse program where all they do is work out all day and do heavy therapy. And I was just like, oh, these well-adjusted, beautiful men, half of them from the East Coast. I was just like, oh my God. And so I was like, hey, I stood up and I was like, I'm Satch. I'm new here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing. I just found my friend dead. I'm scared, and I don't want it to be me. Mm-hmm. And I was terrified to get up and say that, because my experience as being an openly gay man in what I would have determined to be a toxically masculine environment, seeing all these men playing grab ass with each other and being like, oh, fuck, before the meeting starts. And I felt it. Oh, I did too. But I didn't. I felt like there's no way they're gonna like me. I'm too
they're not
different.
gonna grab my ass because they're gonna think that I want to fuck them. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
but every single person who I was looking at came up to me and talked to me and was like, "We're glad you're here, man." And I was just like, I felt so seen, and I felt like my sexuality was the least important part about me for the first time. In a group of men. That was the biggest thing for me, and especially in the first year of sobriety, was learning how to trust another man, that they didn't just want my dick, right? Yeah. And that there was more I could offer them emotionally than I could physically.
Or judge you.
Right. Yeah. And so I can't say enough good about that place. That's why I still go there on Thursdays to this day. It's
today's Thursday. He's going tonight.
Tonight.
I'll let you guys know. Sexy men.
I'll let you guys know how it goes.
I kind of want to go.
It's fantastic. It's a great.
They're sorry, sir, alumni only.
No, actually, it's
open to everyone.
It's open to everyone.
Oh, nice.
So if you guys want to come, honestly, you should. Obviously, you guys have somebody coming on after me, but I'd love to have you guys come.
No,
join
absolutely.
Me. And maybe one of you guys speak, because they have a speaker meeting on Sundays. So if you guys want to do it, speak for them, that would be rad too. I mean, y'all stories are fucking,
That's cute. Okay, so what were things I love? Before we started this podcast, I asked you what was your overarching theme of your first year, and you said redemption. And up to this point, this absolutely has been a very redemption type of story. But let's get into the shit that you did that people told you not to do, and you still did it anyway. So what's the tea, Satch?
Okay, so let me cross the leg for this.
We don't want to get hard.
We're about to get saucy.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, buckle up. It's gonna be a while. Okay.
You.
All right, so
I love our podcast.
you guys are so fucking cool. You guys are gonna have to let me come back and do this again when y'all move
Everyone
into.
says that.
I
when
know.
it's like. So what's the next one? Year 5.
Yeah.
What happened during year 5? So I was, God, how do I put this? A slut.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I was hoping
I
you were
was
going to say.
I was an escort,
Okay.
so I was doing a lot of that shit. And there was a time
in your first year.
yes,
Okay.
there was a time where I was living at one of the houses that Treehouse has, and there was a guy that found me on Rentman, and he was like, "I see you all the time," and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I live on this street," and I was like, "Oh shit!" He's like, and he gave me his address, and I was like, "That's literally in the apartment complex across the street from our houses." And he's like, "You want to make a quick buck?" And I said, "Not a buck, but like we can talk."
Wait, who is this person?
He was this guy,
Just a random dude in the neighborhood?
Dude in the neighborhood.
That's
okay, I thought
on
you said-
Rent the Runway.
Yeah. Yeah. But he wasn't in your program. That's why I was okay. I thought you meant that he was like at your program and saw you on
Dude,
No,
it.
this was Satch down the street, and this was the guy at the window.
Yeah.
He goes, "I see you all the time."
Yeah, so he had me come over. And
How much did you get paid?
$500.
That was your first time doing it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Are you
No,
Breezy?
No, in
No.
sobriety.
In sobriety.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, actually, no. Sorry. No, it was not my first time doing it in sobriety.
Okay.
It was, I'd done it a couple times.
Okay.
Rent had to be paid, even though it didn't. Fucking stupid. So I go over to his house. I can't make this up. I go over to his house, and it's like real dark. And I'm like, "Can you turn a light on here?"
Yeah.
And he turns the light on. Doesn't look like his pictures. I'm like, "Okay, let me see the money." So I see the money, and then he pulls me into this room, and it's like got a daybed on it, and he has 4 Pomeranians
What the fuck is
that
about
are just
to happen?
sitting there. And I was
No.
like, "Can you move the dogs?" And he goes, "They like to watch." And
No.
I was like, "Dude."
No.
And I like felt the $500 in my pocket, and I was like, "Let's get this over with." So
Yeah. You do what you
With
did.
the in front of the
in
Pomeranians.
front of the Pomeranians.
Oh my god, I have to put Sable in the closet when me and Damon have sex because I think it's so weird that she stares. I'm like, "I'm so sorry, Sable. You have to go in the closet."
Daddy's gotta have sex.
Yeah.
And so you want to talk about the most severe walk of shame is like me leaving after that, knowing that like I didn't really come. I like
Across the
faked it. I
street.
was like, and
Yeah.
then I left, and then walking across the street right into the house, and I look back, and he's just
Staring.
yeah,
And now he knows where you live.
yeah.
Oh, well, he already knew where you
He
lived.
already knew.
Okay,
But
right.
yeah, and I did that a few more times.
Yeah, I figured.
I did that a few more
I
times.
mean, it's so
What'd
easy.
you
It's just
buy?
literally right there.
Huh?
You bought clothes.
Oh yeah.
You got pedicure, manicure.
Oh, I got everything. Clothes, fucking got my rims powder coated, just stupid shit. On my fucking 2002 Volvo S60 with a transmission that won't work, but I wanted to make sure the rims were black.
Period. Yeah.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Always.
So there was that. Woo! I had not talked about that in a while. That's crazy. But I did that for a while. And I did that with various different men, and the caliber of men definitely got a lot bigger as I did that.
Like powerful?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
I ended up doing some stuff with a guy that lived in Crystal Cove who was really into baby play. Like
So you have to change his diaper and stuff like that.
I didn't have to change his diaper, but he wanted to be like
a baby
around me, and then he like wanted to like, do stuff with me, and I was like, "Listen, the price is right. I'll do it." And then there was we'll get back into it, but let me just say this. I left his house, leaving his house one day, and I'm like walking down the stairs, and I have my shoes in my hands, and I'm like running down his stairs, and as you run past the grand foyer, there's like a circle cut out that leads into like the den. Mm-hmm. And as I run past, I hear somebody go, "You done fucking my dad?" And I was like,
it was his actual son?
Yeah. I turn around, and his son's like 19 years old, like sitting there like playing video games, doesn't even look at me. And I was like, "I'm sorry." He goes, "You might want to hurry up and get the fuck out of here. My mom's on her way home from Pavilion." No. And I was like, "Oh shit." And so I fucking like ran out. You know,
okay. Crosstalk Pavilions, that's up the hill. Right? That's 10 minutes away. Newport Coast, come down. You have to go through the little guard. 20 minutes. Okay, I have 20 minutes.
Oh my God. And so I like ran out, got in my car, left, and this guy's in the program too, which is so crazy.
Did you know this at the time?
Yeah.
What's his name?
No.
I'm just kidding. I know it's not good to say, but I just wanted to say that.
I'm not gonna do that. He doesn't.
I know who
he
it
doesn't
is.
live in OC anymore. He moved to
somewhere. Somewhere
else.
Yeah.
But he came. Yeah.
Whatever.
Do we think his wife knew?
Oh, she found out. She left him.
Because of
and
you?
took half of everything.
Because of you? Or because...
I don't know.
Does that a lot.
I'm sure he did it with a lot of people, but like he came back to me several years later, and I was like, "Dude, I don't do that stuff anymore." And he goes, "I don't care. I would just like to see you." And so every Christmas he gives me gifts.
Wow.
Is it the hat you're wearing?
To this day. No, it's the Cartier Santos and the Birkin bag that I have.
Wow.
Sell it. Sell the Birkin and buy a house. Duh.
Sell the Birkin and buy a house. Where? In Tennessee?
Down payment.
Down payment here. What kind of credit you think I got? I'm still recurring. But yeah, so that was the stuff that I did that,
So wait, did you tell your sponsor about it?
I was just gonna ask that. Okay.
And what did your sponsor say?
Because my sponsor's like, "How the fuck do you have all this money?" And he's like, "I know your mom's rich, but she's not fucking with you right now. Where are you getting all this money from?" And I was like, "Just hard work at the Greek yogurt shop,
Yogurtland?
No, it was.
You had your get well job.
It was a place called Go Greek in CDM,
and that's where you were working.
And that was where I was working, and it was like part time.
Because you were making all your money doing this.
1 hour a day.
Like they said, I had to get a get well job.
plus tips.
That's where you were meeting all these people. That's smart.
But it was like, the dude who was the manager there is now like an OnlyFans star. Like, I mean, like we're all doing like different stuff, but it's just
my balls are out.
What the fuck?
Honestly, I thought that was the look he was going for. I've seen him a couple times.
See?
No, I didn't see him.
No, I didn't.
I definitely would have told you. I would have been like, "Hey, bro."
I didn't.
Sorry.
Put your balls away. This is my time to shine.
I know. Sorry.
We're talking about my balls.
We're talking about my balls right now. Your balls can wait. Oh man.
Okay, your sponsor. What did your sponsor say?
He was like, he goes, "How much money are you making?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Give me a rough estimate." I said, "I don't know, between like $4,000 and $5,000 a month." He's like, "That needs to stop right now." And I was like, "Okay." And then I didn't stop.
Yeah.
But like, I was very open with my current sponsor about it. And he's like, and he put it into perspective for me. He's like, "Is this the kind of man that you would want somebody who's being taken through the steps by you to be? Because it's not just you and him that are affected by that situation. It's the son, the wife. You're tearing apart a family with your actions. And you know that you're doing it. Is that a man of recovery?" And of course I sit there like fucking Eeyore and I'm just like, "No." You know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to say, "Well, it's because," like there's no rebuttal for that. There's no rebuttal for that. That's just, you're just straight up being a bad dude.
Yeah.
I got sober for freedom and to learn how to be a good person. So like, yeah, the money was fucking chill. But I have not done anything like that in a very long time because that's not the person. That doesn't align with me. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, sex is chill, but like money's chill. But the combination of them together does a very bad thing for me.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask.
It's
How
a
were
fine
you
line.
feeling about your self-worth when you were doing that?
I feel like sex is very transactional for me to this day as a result of how I was doing that. It's damaged it a lot for me. I don't like how that feels because it's also made it a lot harder to do that interpersonal work as a result of like, am I really worth that work? You know, look at all the shit I've done. Look at how I was viewed as a piece of meat. You know, so here I am in a relationship and people are like, what's your deal? And I feel like what I can offer is my dick and like pay for things, you know? So that's like been something that's been a issue consistently through my sobriety, not just my first year, but especially in my first year. I didn't know how to fucking live, period.
Yeah.
You know, let alone I find something that gives me that dopamine spike that's not drugs. So I'm like, oh my God. But then in a way, money and sex are drugs, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There I am right back at the start. And my sponsor's like, you're right back where you fucking started, man. Like, is that what you want? He's like, it doesn't have to be drugs to take everything away from you, dude. And so I slowly pulled back.
My foreskin.
And
fed it to my sponsor.
There ain't no hood on this Honda, baby.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Did you just say what I think? Fed it to my sponsor.
Okay, so
I tried to ignore it.
This is Breezy at the end of every show. Can I tell you? Jimmy, we really want people to hear our show. Can you not say stuff like that so then we have a broader audience and help people?
I've never said that a day in my life.
Really?
Yeah, I said don't say mean things to them because then they won't reshare it.
Oh.
I don't care what you say.
No, I'll reshare.
I love it.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Just don't make the foreskin one the clip, please.
That's going to be the clip. Okay. Hold. Wait. I can tell when Damon's hitting his fucking vape when I'm on the phone with him because I'm talking and it's silent and all I hear is. I came to terms and I accept. Just kidding, David. What I wanted to say is, okay, so you said your thing was redemption. Do you know by doing the steps, do you kind of know why you were a chronic relapser? For example, for me, I was a chronic relapser also. But by doing the steps and a lot of the work, I realized that when the emotions come of not being loved or not being a part of, those are the two biggest ones for me. And I didn't know because I went through the steps, but I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I went through steps in a fun, like I was like you, like the fun guy everybody loves. So I kind of snuck under everything, which was not good. And this time I found someone that attacked me in a way where I'm just like, I can't go anywhere. So what I'm asking you is, what were the emotions that came up where you're just kind of like, oh my God, that's what it is. Like it kind of clicked for you where you're like, that's why I kept relapsing.
So, fuck, dude. That's crazy. So what really changed for me? Oh my God.
I don't know what's happening.
There's a stranger in the window.
He's actually a really hot dad from Texas, but it's my client's husband and he gets his haircut downstairs and he was just going to say hi to me. And I literally think about having sex with him all the time, so I'm glad he's not in here. Keep going.
Do you think he just heard you say that?
I don't care because I tell him we all hung out with Damon. I'm like, you're really hot. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go back to, I'm sorry. Go.
For sure. For sure. Back to the probing
I'm
question.
literally just like you.
I don't understand how you guys are best friends. Like, this is my favorite
You know
thing.
why we're not best friends? Because he isolates in straight meetings.
bitch.
And-
I know you did not just go there.
And you know what? I used to do that too. And my sponsor was like, you need to go to a gay meeting and become healthy relationships with other gay guys.
See, that's the thing.
There you go.
I just want to. Okay. All right.
Okay. That's a whole nother story.
Well,
Maybe
that's another. We'll
round
we'll do
two.
a different podcast episode around
There
that.
you go.
Yeah.
In year 5. Okay.
Yeah.
So year 5, how much of a slut were
Are you
you?
trying to get
No. Are his legs, dude, his legs are so long, I don't know what to do with mine. I don't know if I need to, like, close them, open them. Oh my god.
This is such a rad way to like end my Thursday. Thursday. So for me, god damn it, dude, I can't even remember the question.
The question was what clicked, like mine, like the emotions. Because you know we can't handle the emotions. Do you know what emotion took you out each time?
Yes, I wanted to be liked. If you liked me, I liked me. And what it came down to was at the end of the day, when the people that liked me went out or weren't around anymore, I didn't like me alone. So it was like I had this inability to sit with myself. And it has translated into grabbing a ton of sponsees, like having tons of people to work with. So I'm like running and gunning and going all the time and not having to sit with me and think about me.
Yeah.
And this sponsor that I've been with the longest refused to let me fail myself. He required me to show up for myself in ways that involved showing up for other people. And you know, it's a work in progress. I'm still very much so, you know, I'm in therapy. I am in therapy right now. You know, doing EMDR, getting to the bottom of like what causes me to think the way that I do and what causes me to act the way that I do. Because ultimately I do things that put me in a position to be hurt. I have always done that. And it's also, I feel like it comes from a place of needing my life to be in a state of chaos because that was all I knew when I was getting loaded, despite the fact that I've now been sober longer than I ever used, which is the craziest thing to say that I got there. But what it comes down to is acceptance. I want acceptance. I want a place. I want to feel like I'm enough, because despite the fact that I was not old enough to remember being given up for adoption, there has always been a constitutional feeling of me not being worthy of fighting for. And so I try to combat that by acts of service, by looking at my life today and looking at what I do today, you know, and having these examples of these esteemable things and proof that I can do hard things and be okay.
What are your acts of self-care? How are you showing up for yourself?
Sex. Just kidding.
Pedicures.
I mean, let's see. What I do today is I go.
You came to our podcast.
I came and did this. I love doing shit like this. I think it's so much fun and it's so important.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in therapy. I see a dietitian. I go to the gym. I take very good care of my body. At least I try to. Now.
Yeah.
Because another big thing about that was like being in a bigger body and my worth being attached to my size, especially in the gay community.
Did you grow up heavy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We literally have probably the same exact story.
And it's just been, it was a challenge. And so now I hang out with my friends, people that make me feel good, people that celebrate me when I'm not in the room. You know, I look for...
I like that.
I look for those kind of relationships and friendships, and I have come to know that there is a group of people that I cannot live without. Just simply put, you're one of them.
Stop it.
You so are. You're on your way.
I think I was on my way when I first met you at the other podcast.
Yeah.
And I really am like, should I stay for dinner? It's going to be so fun. And I'm like, I have to go home.
Yeah, well, you should have stayed.
I know, and had quesadillas.
You should have stayed for dinner. It was fucking fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, life looks really good, and life got so good that for probably around year 2, I was like, I don't want to give this up for anything. You know, I want to see how much further this can go and how much better things can get, and life just got really good, and so now it's like, when I lose somebody or I see someone that makes the decision to go back out,
Yeah.
I hurt for the family, and I hurt for where they must have been at to have to make that decision again, because I'm not willing to do that again. At least not now.
Yeah.
You know, nothing has come up yet that's been like,
Yeah.
here, I'll give you $10 million if you take a hit off this crack rock. You know,
100%. I would do it.
Yes. One hit,
Not $10.
Let's pray that
I'm just kidding.
let's pray that I can.
Oh my
get
God!
back,
You know what? That's a reservation. I should do work on that.
$10 million. Someone walks
$10
up
million
with a
is $10
check,
million.
with a check and a crack rock. Are you fucking kidding me? I'll eat that bitch.
Yeah.
I'll stick it in my butt.
Strip top.
Straight. Okay. I also wanted to ask. Okay, so now that you know that what, you know, the emotion that basically takes you out, when the emotion comes now, I mean, you kind of said it, but what, like, to me, I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. And then I'm like, okay, it's because this person didn't like me. And I feel like they're kind of alienating me out of the room. And so then what I do, I just kind of go through my head and I'm like, I know I'm a good person. Like, I have to talk myself down. What do
Right.
you do?
I highlight the fact that feelings are not facts.
Okay.
And that
That's
I don't know what someone else is thinking about me unless they come up to me and say it. There's no evidence of shit that I put in my head about people's opinions of me, and honestly, their opinions of me are none of my fucking business.
Yep.
So you talk yourself down.
Yeah,
also.
100%.
Yeah.
I heard that in a podcast.
It doesn't always work. It was mine, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, literally, they were like, whenever you can like feel yourself going into that spiral of like, oh my God, this is why they're doing it, blah, blah. You literally just have to keep saying, I don't know. I don't know. I actually don't know.
I'm assuming.
I literally don't know.
Legitimately.
Anything.
Have no idea.
I am making it all up right now, and I'm literally making myself miserable. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? People talk to themselves like that? I had no idea.
And then that's exactly what I do. And I'm like, instead of holding it on for days or weeks, it's minutes now.
Yes.
I'm just like, oh my God, Jimmy, like,
yeah, let it
and
go.
then I laugh.
Knock it off. Distract.
I
distract myself.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Sometimes I masturbate.
Period.
Bitch, don't try to act like you don't.
This body is a temple. I don't touch myself. The harems.
Temple from Texas.
The harems touch me.
Yes,
Feed me grapes.
Feed me grapes and fan me with a leaf.
How's your relationship with your mom after experiencing all of this
Dude,
with you?
it's so good. It was her birthday a couple days ago.
Oh.
A couple days. What's today's date? The 3rd?
Yep.
2nd? 3rd?
Yep.
It
Tomorrow's
was
4th of July.
It was on the, oh fuck, of course. It was on the 1st. And I'm grateful that I've been able to give her 10 years of good sleep. And we'll just leave it at that. Like, she is my everything. She is my safe space, and I want to make sure that she knows that I'm good, so that she can enjoy her life. Because I spent a lot of years taking joy from her, taking money from her, I mean, my financial amends to my mother is well over $500,000. You know, and it continues to grow. You know what I mean? But it's like, I mean, she has been a relentless support to me, and you know, I can't thank God enough for that. Yeah. You know, and it's all God. It's all God.
Always. So our final question, unfortunately, we have to be done.
I know. The
I don't like
it. The time has flown by.
This has been iconic, to say the least.
It did fly by.
I know. So we were laughing most of the time, but that's fine.
That's fine.
So to the person who has a very similar story to yours, whether it be a gay male or the chronic relapser or someone who's in a sober living that just found their friend dead.
Or a prostitute.
Like, can
Escort.
Yeah. Can you speak to that person and give some peace to them and some hope?
Absolutely. You are loved. You are worthy. You are gifted. You are beautiful, talented, deserving of a life that is so much more than what you've been through or what you've experienced. Your experiences do not make your life. They do not determine your successes. we're all proof that hope is not lost here.
Mhm.
And I think that is so profound that we have such a divine network of beautiful, strong people that all walk the same walk of life from all different walks of life. And um, you'll never know who your best friend is going to be. And I pray to God that it ends up being yourself and that you give yourself a chance to get here, because life is so good on this side of things. Show up for yourself, advocate for yourself, fight for yourself, because you're worth saving.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how much time sober you have.
Does
Or
not.
age.
Continue to ask for help.
100%.
I think that would be a really cool
Mm-hmm.
to have you on next and go more into
Please.
asking for help
Please.
later on in your sobriety.
Yeah. It was the
'cause
hardest thing I've
that's-
ever had to do.
Yeah, because that's
Mhm.
a huge thing that no one talks
People get
about.
stuck in the middle a lot.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
they think, oh, well, I have X amount of
We did.
time,
Yep.
and I can't.
yeah,
And then outside issues came in and almost took my 10 years away.
Yeah,
from
Mhm.
me,
and
like
it's
nothing
like,
I've ever seen.
yeah, because people think just because I have time, I shouldn't be asking for help. I don't need to
Mhm.
go back into it. So if you guys are interested in having Satch back on the podcast to go into that,
Please
I know,
comment and like and subscribe.
and let us know.
Give me a follow on Instagram.
Yeah, and if you absolutely
Say,
And-
bring Satch back.
yes.
In the comments, please.
Watch, I'm devastated because nobody does it.
That's because maybe people don't really listen. No, they listen,
we have
but
listeners.
no, we have listeners, but maybe to what we say,
They don't follow through.
they don't follow through.
They have bad
Mm.
follow through. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so if you have found that this episode would really help somebody, please pass it on. And
Pass
as
that
always,
Dutch.
thank you so much for listening. I am Breezy.
And I'm Jimmy.
And we are
Sober Disclosure.
with spirit fingers.
Dude, that sounded so good. This episode is brought to you by Light Salon, Orange County's premier destination for expert hair color. At Light Salon, we specialize in creating stunning custom color transformations that highlight your natural beauty. Owned and operated by passionate, sober stylists, we bring authenticity, creativity, and precision to every client experience. Light Salon.